So, chapter 1 of Geography, Resources and Development. So, first of all, it is very important to understand the title. So, resources. Everything available in our environment which can be used to satisfy our needs, provided it is technologically accessible, economically feasible, and culturally acceptable, can be termed as resources. It means that everything which can be used to satisfy the need of a human being, it is technologically accessible, means um, the technologically accessible means the technology needed to use the resource must be available so that we can extract it and make proper use of it. Then economically feasible means we must have enough money to extract it and use it. Then culturally acceptable means the things that we allow to be observed or practiced without any objection. So it is termed as resources. Then classification of resources. There are two types of in resources, natural and human. In natural, further, there are two types, renewable and non-renewable. In renewable, there are two types, which is continuous or flow, for example, wind, water, and biological. Then in biological, you can see in diagram that there are two types, natural vegetation and wildlife. Then in non-renewable, there are again two types, recyclable, for example, metals, and non-recyclable, for example, fossil fuels. Then human. In human, you can see that there are two types, structures and institutions, quantity and quality. We can study this table in the next slide briefly. On the basis of origin. On the basis of origin, there are two types, biotic resources and abiotic resources. As we already studied it in the previous class, that biotic resources are the resources which are obtained from biosphere and have life. For example, human beings, flora and fauna. As we all know, flora and fauna means plants and animals. Then abiotic resources. Abiotic resources are all those things which are composed of non-living things are called abiotic resources. For example, rocks and metal. Then, on the basis of exhaustibility, there are two types, renewable and non-renewable. In renewable, first point, the resources which can be renewed or reproduced by physical, chemical, or mechanical processes are known as renewable or replenishable resources. Now, second point, for example, solar and wind energy. There are also more examples like water, forest, wildlife, etc. Third point, as we study in the previous slide in the table, that they can be that renewable resources are further divided into continuous or flow. For example, wind, water. Now, non-renewable resources. The resources which take a very long time, for example, minerals and fossil fuels, are known as non renewable resources. But they are divided into two parts, recyclable and non recyclable resources. The resources which take millions of years in their formation are known as recyclable resources, for example, metals. And non-recyclable resources are the resources which cannot be recycled, for example fossil fuels, which get exhausted with their use. Then you can see here that which things can be recycled and which things cannot be. So solar energy, wind, water can be recycled, or oil, natural gas, nuclear, metals cannot be recycled. Then, on the basis of ownership. On the basis of ownership, we are going to study four parts. First, individual. Second, community owned. Third, national. And fourth, international. On the basis of ownership. Now, first point, individual resources. These are the resources which are owned privately by individuals. Second point, land owned by farmers, allotted by government against the payment of revenue. And third point, plantation, house, ponds owned by individuals. It means that there are resources which are owned privately by an individual. For you can take it as an example, like many farmers own land which is allotted to them by government against the payment of revenue, or in villages there are people with land ownership, but there are many who are landless, so they own property privately by individuals. For example, urban people own plots, houses, and other property, and remainings own plantation, pasture lands, ponds, etc. So these are the some examples of resources ownership of in by individuals. Then community owned resources. First point, there are resources which are accessible to all the members of the community. For example, public parks, picnic spots, playgrounds in urban areas, etc. So it means that there are resources which are accessible to all the members of the community. It means that it is not the property of a single person. So it is accessible to all the members of the community. So it means that anyone can use these facilities like public parks, picnic spots, playgrounds in urban areas. These facilities are accessible to all the people living there. Then third part, national resources. National resources are the resources that belong to the nation. For example, roads, canals, railways, etc. It means that all the resources belong to the nation, means the country has legal powers to acquire even private property for public good. You might have seen roads, canals, railways being constructed on fields owned by some individuals. So the country has acquired these lands from. You all know that these are the private property, but still the country acquires this land from them. So why the country do this for a public good? So national resources are the resources that belong to the nation, and countries has legal powers to acquire even private property for a public good. Then third point, minerals, water resources, terrestrial waters, forest, wildlife, etc. And last point, land within the political boundaries. It means that there is an organization which is urban development authorities, which get empowered by the government to acquire land. All the minerals, water resources, forests, wildlife, and land within the political boundaries, this organization, urban development authorities, can acquire these lands or these all things from them, because these things are within the political boundaries. So they have power, the organization have power to get these, to acquire these things. Then international resources. International resources are the resources, means are international institutions which regulate some resources. It means that there are international institutions which regulate means to control something by using laws and rules. So international institutions are acquire some resources by using some laws and rules on these some resources. Then last point, the oceanic resources beyond 200 nautical miles of the exclusive economic zone belong to open ocean, and no individual country can utilize these without the concurrence of international institution. It means that oceanic resources of beyond 200 nautical miles which belong to the exclusive economic zone, so no individual, yeah, no country, yeah, no any single person can utilize these without the permission of international institutions. No one have right to use these oceanic resources beyond 200 nautical miles which belong to the exclusive economic zone without the permission of international institution. It doesn't matter that it is the country or it is the individual. It doesn't matter. No one means no one can utilize these things. Then potential resources found in a region but have not been utilized. First point, Then second point, for example, the western parts of India, particularly Rajasthan and Gujarat, have enormous potential for development of wind and solar energy, but are not developed properly. It means that इसका ये मतलब होगा कि जो रिसोर्सेज हैं मीन्स उस स्टेट के पास लाइक राजस्थान एंड गुजरात उनके पास वो पोटेंशियल हैं, वो ये कर सकते हैं बट वो कर नहीं रहे. Like wind and solar energy means they have potential for the development of wind and solar energy, but they are not doing so. They can utilize this thing, but they are not utilized it. So this show that they are not developed properly. Means maybe the reason is that they have not sufficient money. Yeah, they do not have any good technology to use it, to utilize it. But whatever the reason, they have potential for development of wind and solar energy, but they are not doing so. So this is only show that they are not developed properly. Then developed resources. So first point, resources which are surveyed and their quality and quantity have been determined for utilization. Second point, the development of resources depends on technology and level of their feasibility. It means that रिसोर्सेज पहले सर्वे किया जाता है कि रिसोर्सेज की क्या क्वांटिटी है, क्या क्वालिटी है, किस हर स्टेट टू स्टेट किया जाता है कि किस स्टेट से वो ले सकते हैं जो रिसोर्सेज उनके पास नहीं हैं. उनकी क्वांटिटी देखते हैं, क्वालिटी देखते हैं, किस रेट में उन्हें वो मिल रहा है, ये सब देखते हैं. ये सर्वे करने के बाद वो एक मैपिंग करते हैं. उसके बाद ये डिटरमाइन मीन्स उसके बाद वो देखते हैं कि वो उसे यूज़ कर सकते हैं कि नहीं कर सकते, क्या उनके पास टेक्नोलॉजी है उस चीज़ को यूज़ करने की कि नहीं. सेकेंड पॉइंट में यही है कि डेवलपमेंट ऑफ रिसोर्सेज मेनली डिपेंड टेक्नोलॉजी पे है कि अगर उनके पास वो टेक्नोलॉजी है कि नहीं उसे यूज़ करने के लिए, वो रिसोर्सेज यूज़ करने के लिए. सो डेवलप्ड रिसोर्सेज यही होता है कि वो जो है वो सर्वे करते हैं, पहले क्वालिटी एंड क्वांटिटी देखते हैं. देन सेकेंड पॉइंट, डेवलपमेंट ऑफ रिसोर्सेज मेनली डिपेंड है टेक्नोलॉजी पे. Then stock. So first point refers to the materials in the environment which have the potential to satisfy human needs, but human beings do not have the appropriate technology to access these. So it means that in our environment there are materials, there are some resources which have the potential to satisfy the needs of a human being, but we a human being do not have the appropriate technology to use it. Means the materials, the resources have potential to satisfy the need of a human being, but a human being which do not have any appropriate technology to use it. Then second point, water in the compound of two inflammable gases, hydrogen and oxygen, which can be used as a rich source of energy. If we know the required technical know-how, hence it can be considered as stock. Means hydrogen can be used as a rich source of energy, not oxygen, but mainly hydrogen can be used as a rich source of energy. But we do not have advanced technology, so we are not able to use it. So this is known as stock, that the materials or the resources in our environment have potential to satisfy the human beings' needs, but we human being do not have the appropriate technology to use it. Then, so now reserves. Reserves means you can compare it from your life. Like reserve means savings. Like our mothers, yeah, we savings money to use it in the future. If we have any problem, yeah, anything like that in the future. So for this, we are saving money to use it in the future. So reserve means us like a saving. So first point are the subset of the stock which can be put into use with the help of existing technical know-how. These can be used for meeting future requirements. It means that we can use it, that to save something to use it in the future. Second point, river water can be used to generate hydroelectric power presently. It is being used to only a limited extent. Thus, the water in the dams is the reserve which can be used in the future. It means that the river water can be used for generating hydroelectric power, but presently we are using it to a limited extent. Why? Why we are using it to a limited extent? because we are using the hydroelectric power, the river water for the generating the hydroelectric power to a limited extent, because we also have to save it for the future, because we are reserving it to use it in the future. So to save things, to save the things for like a saving, to use it in the future, is known as reserves. Now, problems created by indiscriminate use of resource by man. First of all, we all know that it is believed that resources are free gifts of nature. As a result, we human beings use them indiscriminately, and this has led to the following major problems. First, many resources got depleted, for example, forest. It means that the depletion of resources for satisfying the greed of a few individuals led to the depletion. So if to satisfy the someone's greed, so it is not a way to, means to satisfy someone's greed, we are doing the depletion of many resources. Second point, resources got accumulated in the hands of few people. The society is divided into rich and poor. It means that the accumulation of resources in few hands, which in turn divided the society into two segments. First, rich and poor. Between rich and poor, the gap will widen. Accumulation means you can imagine like एक ही जगह हम कोई चीज़ इकट्ठी करते जा रहे हैं, तो उससे क्या होगा, जो चीज़ दूसरों को हम मिल सकती है वो हम ज़्यादा स्टॉक रखने के कारण क्या होगा कि उनको वो मिल नहीं पाएगा. लाइक अब एक्यूमुलेशन मीन यही होता है कि एक जगह इकट्ठे करते रहना. तो अगर रिसोर्सेज कुछ ही के फ्यू हैंड्स में ही जाएंगे अगर, तो वो पुअर को नहीं मिल पाएंगे, जिससे रिच एंड पुअर का जो गैप है वो बढ़ जाएगा, वो वाइडन हो जाएगा. तो एक्यूमुलेशन मीन्स एक जगह इकट्ठा करना. तो इट इज़ नॉट अ राइट वे कि हम अगर ऐसा करेंगे रिच, तो पुअर जो है वो और ज़्यादा पुअर होते जाएंगे. देन third point, global warming, ozone layer depletion, environmental pollution, and land degradation. It means that indiscriminate exploitation of resources has led to these things like global warming, ozone layer depletion, environmental pollution, and land degradation. Now, sustainable development. Sustainable economic development means development should take place without damaging the environment, and development in the present should not compromise with the needs of the future generations. इसका हम ऐसे इसको समझ सकते हैं कि जो डेवलपमेंट है मीन्स हम जो है वो रिसोर्सेज को ऐसे यूज़ करें कि मतलब हम डैमेज भी ना करें उन्हें, और प्रेजेंट में एक लिमिटेड एक्सटेंट तक हम उसे यूज़ करें, ताकि फ्यूचर के लिए हम सेव भी कर सकें, ताकि फ्यूचर में हमारी नीड्स पूरी हो सकें, हमारी जनरेशन्स के लिए उसे हम सेव करें. तो इनडायरेक्टली इसका यही मीनिंग है कि डेवलपमेंट जो है शुड टेक प्लेस विदाउट डैमेजिंग द इन्वायरमेंट, and development in the present should not compromise with the needs of the future generation. Indirectly we can understand that by this that to save the resources for the future, but it didn't mean कि हम प्रेजेंट में उसे यूज़ करना ही बंद कर दें. प्रेजेंट में भी ऐसा यूज़ करें कि एक लिमिटेड एक्सटेंट तक यूज़ करें, और फ्यूचर के लिए भी उसे सेव कर लें और बिना डैमेजिंग के. सो दिस इज़ नॉन एज सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट. सो रिसोर्स प्लानिंग. सो पहले आप इस रिसोर्स प्लानिंग आप डायग्राम देखो कि आपको डायग्राम देखने से क्या समझ आता है. हम इसको नेक्स्ट स्लाइड में डिस्कस करेंगे. रिसोर्स प्लानिंग. रिसोर्स प्लानिंग इज़ अ टेक्निक और स्किल ऑफ प्रॉपर यूटिलाइजेशन ऑफ रिसोर्सेज. मीन्स रिसोर्स प्लानिंग एक ऐसी टेक्निक है, एक ऐसी स्किल है जो कि प्रॉपर यूटिलाइजेशन करे रिसोर्सेज का. अगर रिसोर्स प्लानिंग ही नहीं होगी, अगर मीन्स हमारे पास अप्रोप्रिएट टेक्नोलॉजी नहीं होगी, अप्रोप्रिएट स्किल्स नहीं होंगी, तो हम किसी रिसोर्सेज का प्रॉपर यूटिलाइजेशन नहीं कर सकते. तो रिसोर्स प्लानिंग इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट और इज़ अ टेक्निक और स्किल ऑफ प्रॉपर यूटिलाइजेशन ऑफ रिसोर्सेज. देन स्टेजेस और रिसोर्सेज प्लानिंग. स्टेजेस और रिसोर्स प्लानिंग में हम पढ़ेंगे. फर्स्ट, आइडेंटिफिकेशन एंड लिसनिंग ऑफ रिसोर्सेज. आइडेंटिफिकेशन मतलब देखना, कि हम देखेंगे किस स्टेट के पास कौन से रिसोर्सेज हैं। पहले तो हम अपनी स्टेट में देखेंगे हमें कौन से रिसोर्सेज की ज़रूरत है, और जिस रिसोर्सेज की हमें ज़रूरत है वो किस स्टेट्स में अवेलेबल है। एंड इन्वेंटरी, इन्वेंट्री मतलब हिसाब लगाना रिसोर्सेज का, कि इस रीजन में कितनी क्वांटिटी में है, किस रीजन में कितनी क्वांटिटी में। इन्वेंट्री मीन्स हिसाब लगाना, लिस्टिंग करना या इन्वेंट्री करना वही हुआ कि हिसाब लगाना। सो सर्विंग, मैपिंग एंड द मेजरमेंट ऑफ द क्वालिटीज़ एंड द क्वांटिटीज़ ऑफ द रिसोर्सेज आर द इम्पॉर्टेंट एक्टिविटीज़ अंडरटेकन एट दिस स्टेज। इट मीन्स कि पहले हम आइडेंटिफिकेशन करेंगे, फिर इन्वेंट्री करेंगे, उनका हिसाब लगाएंगे, मीन्स उन्हें लिस्टिंग करेंगे, फिर हम सर्विंग करेंगे कि उनकी क्वांटिटीज़ क्वालिटीज़ क्या हैं, उनकी क्वालिटीज़ कैसी हैं, किस स्टेट में। हर एक स्टेट में हमें देखना पड़ेगा कहाँ इसकी अवेलेबिलिटी है, कहाँ नहीं। फिर हम मैपिंग करेंगे। मैपिंग करने के बाद नेक्स्ट इन्होंने फिर बता रखा है प्लानिंग फॉर एक्सपर्टेशन, डेवलप अ प्लानिंग स्ट्रक्चर विथ सुटेबल टेक्नोलॉजी स्किल एंड इंस्टीट्यूशनल सेटअप। इट मीन्स हम देखेंगे क्या हमारे पास प्लानिंग स्ट्रक्चर है, इट मीन्स कि हमारे पास अप्रोप्रिएट टेक्नोलॉजी या स्किल या इंस्टीट्यूशनल सेटअप क्या हमारे स्टेट में है। क्या वो रिसोर्सेज हम ले तो आएंगे, लेकिन अपने स्टेट में क्या हम उसका सही तरीके से यूटिलाइज कर सकेंगे। उस रिसोर्स को यूटिलाइज करने के लिए वो अप्रोप्रिएट जो चीज़ें चाहिए हमें, जो टेक्नोलॉजी चाहिए, क्या वो है। तो फिर हम ये देखेंगे मैच रिसोर्स डेवलपमेंट प्लान्स विद नेशनल डेवलपमेंट प्लान्स। देन थर्ड ये आता है कि हम जो है हमारे रिसोर्सेज डेवलपमेंट प्लान जो हैं उन्हें हम मैच करेंगे किससे, ओवरऑल नेशनल डेवलपमेंट प्लान से। रिसोर्स प्लानिंग में एक एग्जाम्पल भी है, लाइक द स्टेट्स ऑफ झारखंड, छत्तीसगढ़ एंड मध्य प्रदेश आर रिच इन मिनरल्स, बट किसी ना किसी चीज़ में तो वो लैक कर रहे होंगे। हर स्टेट के पास सब कुछ नहीं, किसी के पास किसी में कोई चीज़, कोई स्टेट किसी में रिच है तो किसी में वो लैक कर रही है। फॉर एग्जाम्पल अरुणाचल प्रदेश हैज़ वेरी रिच इन वाटर रिसोर्सेज बट लैक्स इन इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेवलपमेंट। इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चरल डेवलपमेंट मीन्स लाइक बिल्डिंग्स, इंडस्ट्रीज़, ये इसमें वो डेवलप नहीं है अरुणाचल प्रदेश, इसमें वो लैक कर जाता है। बट अरुणाचल प्रदेश किस में रिच है, वाटर में। सो अरुणाचल प्रदेश ऐसे ही पहले आइडेंटिफिकेशन करेगा, इन्वेंटरी करेगा, सर्विंग करेगा, मैपिंग करेगा और देखेगा कि इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेवलपमेंट वो कैसे अपना रिच कर सकता है वो जो लैक हो रहा है। तो हर चीज़, हर स्टेट के पास हर कुछ नहीं है। Like the state of Rajasthan is very rich in solar and wind energy but lacks in water resources. सो ऐसे ही हर स्टेट, किस स्टेट के पास कुछ है तो कुछ नहीं है, कोई किसी में अगर रिच है तो किसी में वो लैक कर रहा है। सो इसी कहते हैं रिसोर्स प्लानिंग, कि हम कैसे रिसोर्सेज हम प्लानिंग करेंगे, कैसे हमें किस स्टेट से हमें क्या चाहिए, कितनी क्वांटिटी में चाहिए, उनकी क्वालिटी क्या है। सो दिस इज़ नॉन एज रिसोर्स प्लानिंग। नाउ रिसोर्स प्लानिंग इन इंडिया। सो इट इज़ ऑल्सो सिमिलर, जैसे मैंने रिसोर्स प्लानिंग बताया तो रिसोर्स प्लानिंग इन इंडिया भी सेम होता है। आइडेंटिफिकेशन एंड इन्वेंट्री ऑफ रिसोर्सेज अक्रॉस द रीजन्स ऑफ द कंट्री। दिस इन्वॉल्व सर्विंग, मैपिंग एंड क्वालिटी एस्टिमेशन एंड मेजरमेंट ऑफ द रिसोर्सेज। तो सेम वही पॉइंट। Then second, evolving a planning structure involved with appropriate technology, skill and institutional setup for implementing resource development plan. So same point. Then last, matching the resources development plans with overall national development plans. So resource planning and resource planning in India is same, कि जो हमारा जो रिसोर्सेज हमारे स्टेट में नहीं है हम दूसरे स्टेट में चेकआउट करेंगे कि उनके पास है कि नहीं, कितनी क्वांटिटी में है, कितनी क्वालिटी में है। सो दिस इज़ नॉन एज रिसोर्स प्लानिंग इन इंडिया। Land resources. So, land resources in India, about 43% of the land area is plain. Mountains account for 30% of the total surface area of the country, and about 27% of the area of the country is the plateau region. It possesses rich reserves of minerals, fossil fuels, and forest. And NSA means the next zone area. The lands are cultivated once or twice in about 2 to 3 years, and if these are included in the net zone area, then the percentage of NSA in India comes to about 54% of the total reporting area. So this is known as land resources, that there are 43% land area which is plain, mountains areas are 30%. So this, and plateau region is 27%. So this is known as land resources or the land use pattern in India. And first thing, which I forget to tell, that what is land resources first of all. So it supports natural vegetation, wildlife, human life, economic activities, transport and communication systems. So this is known as land resource. Now, land utilization. Land resources are used for the following purposes: forests, land not available for cultivation, other uncultivated land, fallow land, net zone area. So ये सारे हमें पता ही है जनरली कि फॉरेस्ट और जो लाइक लैंड नॉट अवेलेबल फॉर कल्टिवेशन, इट मीन्स दैट barren and waste land put to non agricultural uses, for example buildings, roads, factories, etc. If the land is not using, if means the land was put to non-agriculture uses, so buildings, roads, factories, industries are constructed there. So we all know these points like fallow land, other cultivated land. And last point, net zone area, which is very important, NSA. Net zone area, we are also always we are studied it in the previous slide, that net zone area sown more than once in an agricultural year plus net zone area is known as gross cropped area. As in previous slide we studied that the lands are cultivated once or twice in about 2 to 3 years, and if these are included in net zone area, then the percentage of NSA is become 54%. So when the land are cultivated once or twice time is known as NSA, which come in the percentage in India 54%. Land degradation and conservation measures. So first point, 95% of our basic needs for food, shelter and clothes are obtained from land, as we all know this. That then second point, some human activities such as deforestation, overgrazing, mining and quarrying to have contributed significantly in land degradation. As we all know that due to human beings, some activities which are caused by human beings led to these problems. So these problems are like deforestation, overgrazing, mining only led because of the human activities, because human doing indiscriminate activities, due to which these things has happened. Then third point, in states like Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh and Orissa, deforestation due to mining have caused several land degradation. So now in last 3 points we are going to discuss examples that in which state, due to which reason land degradation was caused. So in Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, MP and Odisha, deforestation caused due to the mining, which caused land degradation. And in fifth point, the states like Gujarat, Rajasthan, MP and Maharashtra is caused land degradation due to the overgrazing. In Punjab, Haryana, Western Uttar Pradesh, the land degradation is caused due to the over irrigation. So in these states, land degradation is caused due to these problems, like in Jharkhand mining, in Rajasthan, Gujarat due to overgrazing, in Punjab, Haryana, Western Uttar Pradesh, over irrigation is responsible for land degradation. So we human beings have to stop these activities, these human activities. So land degradation was not caused if we human beings do not do these type of activities. Next one. Now we had already covered the topics. I am going to revise it, like resources on the basis of origin, exhaustibility, ownership, on the basis of status of development. Then we discussed development of resources, then resource planning, then land resources, land utilizations, land degradation. Now the last topic was soil as a resource. So soil is the most important renewable natural resources. It is the medium of plant growth and supports different types of living organisms on the earth. It means, as we all know this thing, and the soil is also a living system. It takes millions of years to form soil up to a few centimeters in depth. Relief, parent rock or bedrock, climate, vegetation and other forms of life and time are important factors in the formation of soil. As we all know this, Various forces of nature, such as change in temperature, actions of running water, wind, and glaciers, activities of decomposers, etc., contribute to the formation of soil. Chemical and organic changes which take place in the soil are equally important. As we all know this, that soil also consists of organic and inorganic materials. On the basis of the factors responsible for soil formation, color, thickness, texture, age, chemical and physical properties, the soils of India are classified in different types. Factor contributing to soil formation, we already studied it, that change in temperature, action of running water, action of wind and glacier, activities of decomposers. Then classification of soil in India. So, 6 classifications are there in India on the basis of soil. So, first, alluvial soil, second, black soil, third, red and yellow soil, fourth, laterite soil, fifth, arid soil, and sixth is the last, forest soil. So, alluvial soil, the first part of classification of soil. So, property. Alluvial soil are very fertile. Mostly these soil contain adequate proportion of potash, phosphoric acid and lime, which are ideal for the growth of sugarcane, paddy, wheat and other crops. Spread in India, these have been deposited by the river system, the Indus, the Ganga and the Brahmaputra. Also found in eastern coastal plains, the deltas of the Mahanadi, the Godavari, the Krishna and the Kaveri river. As we all know that the alluvial soil consists of various proportions of sand, silt and clay. As we move, for example, as we move inlands towards the river valleys, soil particles appear somewhat bigger in size. In the upper reaches of the river valley, that is near the place of the break of slope, the soils are rough. So, apart from the size of their grains or components, soils are also described on the basis of their age. Types of alluvial soil. So, old alluvial soil was bhangar and new alluvial soil was khadar. So, according to their age, alluvial soils can be classified as old alluvial bhangar and new alluvial. The bhangar soil has higher concentration of conker nodules than the khadar. It has more fine particles and is more fertile than the bhangar. Alluvial soils as a whole are very fertile. Mostly these soils contain a adequate proportion of potash, phosphoric, as we already know that. So, and they are also ideal for the growth of sugarcane, paddy, wheat, and other cereal and pulse crops. Due to its high fertility, regions of alluvial soils are intensively cultivated and densely populated. Soils in the drier areas are more and more can be productive after proper treatment and irrigation. Black soil. Property. Black soils are made up of extremely fine clay. Their capacity is to hold moisture. They are rich in soil nutrients. They are poor in phosphoric content. They develop deep crack during hot weather, which helps in proper aeration of the soil. These soil are sticky. So it is very easy to understand. There is nothing to explain. In spread in India. Spread over northwest Deccan plateau of Maharashtra, Surashtra, in the upper Malawi, Madhya Pradesh, and Chhattisgarh, and extend in the southwest, the southeast direction along the Godavari and the Krishna. So you have to learn it. There is also nothing to explain in this. Then idle crop cotton, hence another name black cotton soil. So means basically black soil is ideal for growing cotton and is also known as black cotton soil. It is believed that climatic condition along with the parent rock material are the important factors for the formation of black soil. This type of soil is typically of the Deccan Trap region spread over northwest Deccan Plateau and is made up of lava flows. Then these soils are sticky when wet and difficult to walk on unless tilled immediately after the first shower or during the pre-monsoon period. So this is known as black soil. Red and yellow soil. Property. These soil have red color due to diffusion of iron in crystalline and metamorphic rock. It look yellow when it's found in hydrated form. Spread in India. Parts of Odisha, Chhattisgarh, southern parts of the middle Ganga plains and along the pigment zone of the western Ghats. So basically, when red soil develops on crystalline igneous rocks in areas of low rainfall in the eastern and southern part of the Deccan Plateau. Yellow and red soils are also found in parts of Odisha, Chhattisgarh, southern parts of the middle Ganga plain and along the pigment zone of the western Ghats. These soils develop a reddish color due to diffusion of iron in crystalline and metamorphic rocks. It looks yellow when it occurs in a hydrated forms. Now, laterite soil. Property. Laterite has been derived from the Latin word later, which means break. The laterite soil develop in area with high temperature and heavy rainfall. Humus content of the soil is low. Laterite soil are suitable for cultivation with adequate dust of measure and fertile. Spread. Crop spread where Tamil Nadu, Madhya Pradesh and the hilly areas of Odisha and Assam. Crop. After adopting appropriate soil conservation technique in the hilly area of Kerala and Tamil Nadu, this soil is very used in growing tea and coffee. Basically, the soil is a result of intense leaching due to heavy rain. Laterite soils are mostly deep to very deep, acidic, generally deficient in plant nutrients, and occur mostly in southern states, Western Ghats region of Maharashtra, Odisha, some parts of West Bengal, and northeast regions. Where these soils support deciduous and evergreen forests, it is humus rich, but under sparse vegetation and in semi-arid environment, it is generally humus poor. They are prone to erosion and degradation due to their position and on the landscape. After adopting appropriate soil conservation techniques in the hilly areas of Karnataka, Kerala, and Tamil Nadu, this soil is very useful for growing tea and coffee. So, this is known as laterite soil. So basically it is humus rich but under sparse vegetation and in semi-arid environment it is generally humus poor. Means but under sparse vegetation, sparse, S-P-A-R-S-E. Sparse mean small in quantity or in small in amount. Means vegetation हो, जो vegetation जो है वो small हो quantity में amount में, उस वक्त जो laterite soil है वो humus में poor होती हैं. बट बाकी ऑल टाइम जनरली ये जो रिच होती है ह्यूमस में लेटरेट सोयल, बट ओनली स्पार्स वेजिटेशन के टाइम एंड इन सेमी एरिया इन्वायरमेंट इट इज़ जनरली ह्यूमस पुअर and generally deficient in plant nutrients. This laterite soil is generally deficient in plant nutrients. Means deficient मतलब not good या not so enough, मीन्स नॉट गुड इन प्लांट न्यूट्रिएंट्स. मीन लैटरेट सोयल जो है वो डिफिशियंट थी, मीन्स ज़्यादा अच्छी नहीं थी वो प्लांट न्यूट्रिएंट्स में. देन नेक्स्ट वन, सो सेकेंड लास्ट जो क्लासिफिकेशन है सोइल की वो है एरिड सोइल. एरिड सोइल रेंज फ्रॉम रेड टू ब्राउन इन कलर. They are generally sandy in texture and saline in nature. In some areas, the salt content is very high and common salt is obtained from evaporating the water. Due to dry climate, high temperature, evaporating is faster and the soil looks humus and moisture. The lower horizon of the soil are occupied by concord because of the increasing calcium downwards. The concord layer formation in the bottom horizon restrict the infiltration of water. After proper irrigation, these soil become cultivable as has been in the case of western Rajasthan. So basically, arid soil का जो कलर है वो रेड टू ब्राउन में चेंज होता है एंड जनरली जो है ये सैंडी होते हैं टेक्सचर में. सैंडी मीन्स लाइक रेतीला, मतलब जो सैंडी होते हैं वो फुल ऑफ सैंड या कवर्ड होते हैं सैंड से, कवर्ड विथ सैंड या फुल ऑफ सैंड, तो वो सैंडी होते हैं टेक्सचर में. एंड सेलाइन इन नेचर, सेलाइन का मतलब होता है एक तरीके से कंटेनिंग सोल्ट, तो वो कंटेन करते हैं सोल्ट को, तो वो उसे सेलाइन कहते हैं. तो ये नेचर में सेलाइन एंड टेक्सचर में सैंडी है एरिड सोयल जो होती है. देन कुछ एरियाज़ में जो ये सोल्ट जो कंटेंट करते हैं वो बहुत हाई होता है. क्यों? जो कॉमन सोल्ट है वो ऑब्टेन भी कैसे कर पाते हैं? बाय इवेपोरेटिंग द वाटर. कुछ एरियाज़ में जो सॉल्ट कंटेंट है वो बहुत हाई होते हैं और कॉमन सोल्ट जो है वो ऑब्टेन कर पाते हैं बाय इवेपोरेटिंग द वाटर. और जो सोयल है वो वो ह्यूमस एंड मॉइस्चर जैसे वो दिखती है सोयल. क्यों? क्योंकि ड्यू टू ड्राई क्लाइमेट के वक्त जो टेम्परेचर होता है वो बहुत हाई होता है, जिस कारण इवेपोरेशन जो है वो फास्टर होएगी तो सोयल हमें ह्यूमसी और मॉइस्चर जैसे दिखेगी. सो सोयल लुक्स ह्यूमस एंड मॉइस्चर ड्यू टू द ड्राई क्लाइमेट, because due to the dry climate the temperature was high and evaporation was done faster. So this is the reason why soil looks humus and moisture. Then after proper irrigation, अगर हम proper irrigation कर लेते हैं, so after proper irrigation these soil become cultivable, as has been we can see in the case of western Rajasthan. So the last one was the classification of soil. Last was forest soil. So the last classification of soil was forest soil. These soil are found in the hilly and mountainous areas where sufficient rainforests are available. The soil texture varies according to the mountain environment where they are formed. They are fertile and silty in valley sides and coarse-grained in the upper slopes. In the snow-covered area of Himalayas, these soil experience denudation and are acidic with low valley on the river terraces and alluvial fans and are fertile. So basically, फॉरेस्ट सॉइल जो है वो हमें कहाँ मोस्टली मिलती है? वो मोस्टली हमें हिली साइड्स या माउंटेनियस एरियाज़ की साइड हमें देखने को मिलेगी, जहाँ पे सफिशिएंट रेन फॉरेस्ट जो है हमें अवेलेबल वहाँ पे होते हैं मोस्टली माउंटेनियस एरियाज़ और जो हिली एरियाज़ है उस साइड पे. देन they are loamy and silty in valley sides and coarse grained in the upper slopes. So ये जो loamy है means good quality of soil है ये, और ये silty means it is the fine bits of clay and sand that become sediments, and coarse का मतलब होता है कि rough है, ये जो soil है वो rough है. After that in the snow-covered areas of Himalayas, these soils experience denudation. So basically denudation होता है, denudation involves the process of breaking and removing the surface of the earth. Means एक तरीके से it is the wearing away of land by weathering, erosion या moving water etc. So this is the define of denudation. Then this type of soil, the forest soil, mainly the forest soil was found in the lower parts of the valley. So this is known as forest soil. Now this is the pictures of forest soil. Then last topic of this chapter was soil erosion. So soil erosion, the meaning of soil erosion was the soil cover and subsequent washing down is described as soil erosion. The process of soil formation and erosion go on simultaneously. Generally, there is balancing between the two. Causes of soil erosion. First, human activities like deforestation, overgrazing, construction and mining. Second, defective method of farming. Third, ploughing in wrong way. Fourth, sheet erosion. Fifth, which is the last, wind erosion. So basically, soil erosion meaning the denudation of the soil cover and subsequent washing down is described as soil erosion. This process is known as soil erosion, and we are in the previous slide already know that what is I already told you the definition of denudation. So the denudation of the soil cover and subsequent washing down is described as soil erosion. Sometimes this balance is distributed due to human activities like deforestation, overgrazing, construction and mining, etc. While natural forces like wind, glacier and water lead to soil erosion. The running water cuts through the clay soils and makes deep channels as gullies. The land becomes unfit for cultivation and is known as bad land. So basically bad land is that when the running water cuts through the clayey soils, so it make a very deep channels, so as gullies, so the land becomes unfit. So due to this the land becomes unfit for cultivation and this is known as bad land. Then next, uh, in such cases the topsoil is washed away. This is known as sheet erosion. Then wind blows loose soil of flat or sloping land, known as wind erosion. Means when wind blows loosely, means wind blows loose soil of flat or sloping land, noun known as wind erosion. Soil erosion is also caused due to defective methods of farming, ploughing in a wrong way, that is, up and down the slope from channels for the quick flow of water leading to soil erosion. Ploughing along the contour lines can decelerate the flow of water down the slopes. This is called counter ploughing. So, western and central Himalayas have well developed terrace farming. Large fields can be divided into strips. Strips of grass are left to grow between the crops. This breaks up the force of the wind, and this method is known as strip cropping. And similarly, shelter belts, planting lines of trees to create shelter also works in a similar way. Rows of such trees are called shelter belts. These shelter belts have contributed significantly to the stabilization of sand dunes and in establishing the desert in western India.